With regard to Julian Assange, this is absolutely fascinating. As you know, I have for years been a strong advocate of defending not just journalists, but acts of journalism. When a person is engaged in an act of journalism, whether it's one person tweeting something or putting it on a blog post or publishing it in some other way. This is like the pamphleteers, old Rusticus back in 1776. However it may happen, acts of journalism, in my mind, need to be absolutely 100% protected. And if the federal government, which has asked for the extradition of Julian Assange from the UK, based on what up until today had been a sealed indictment, if that indictment had said, we want to prosecute Julian Assange for publishing the secrets that were leaked to him by Chelsea Manning or others, then I would be very, very upset. I mean, that would be so wrong. But that's not what the sealed indictment says. What the sealed indictment says, at least from my read of it, and I'm not a lawyer and I haven't read the details of the indictment. They're just now becoming available, but I have read several stories written in the legal press by people who have seen it or are familiar with it. In the couple, 2 hours or so of show prep that I could do this morning around this, because he was just arrested. What it appears is that they are charging, that the United States government is charging, that Chelsea Manning came to Julian Assange and said, I think I can get these files, or I can get some of these files, but I can get a whole lot more files, but I don't have the entire password. Here's the site that I need to get the password to, and here's the piece of the password that I have. Can you help me? And then Julian Assange, according to this indictment, turned to his hacking team, either used his own skills or turned to his hacking team and said, how do we get this password? And somebody, whether it was Assange or one of the people working with him, is unclear from what I'm reading of the indictment. And if it turns out, in fact, that a lot of the stuff that Assange has been publishing has been coming out of Russian intelligence, it might have even been Russian intelligence who finished the hack, right? Who figured out what the password was. They passed that back to Assange. Assange passed it back to Chelsea Manning. Chelsea Manning then did the hack, got the information, gave it to Assange, and Assange published it. Now, as I said, he's not being charged for publishing the information. He's being charged for participating in hacking a government website, a U.S. government website. Now, I am as pleased as anybody that the information that Chelsea Manning released got out. And I think we've got a serious transparency problem here in the United States. And I'm equally pleased that the information that Edward Snowden released got out. And in both cases, they got out via the vehicle of Wikileaks. But if it turns out that Julian Assange took what was a noble idea, WikiLeaks, and has turned it into, has basically sabotaged it, has betrayed it, has turned it into an instrument of foreign policy by another government, or turned it into an instrument of political policy on behalf of right-wing ideologues. And Julian Assange, did come out of, he grew up in this weird cult where everybody bleached their hair and all this other kind of weird stuff. I don't know if you saw the movie about him, the Julian Assange movie that came out a few years ago, but it was absolutely fascinating. I knew the guy who was the producer of the movie, and it was just amazing. But if Julian Assange has sabotaged WikiLeaks and turned what should have been a journalistic enterprise into basically a front for the Trump campaign or for Russian intelligence or for, right-wing white nationalists in Europe or anything like that, then in my mind, that's an absolute tragedy. And Assange deserves no support or protection from us or anybody else. Now, if, on the other hand, Assange did not participate in helping hack U.S. government websites and merely received the information and published it, and has, over time decided exclusively to publish information that's destructive to the United States and not to publish information destructive to, say, Russia or specifically even the Republican Party. I mean, we know that the Russians not only hacked the DNC, but they, according to U.S. intelligence agencies anyway, it seems that we know, that they not only hacked the Democratic Party, but they hacked the Republican Party as well. The Republican Party hacks have never appeared on WikiLeaks. So I don't think it's time to pile on Julian Assange, but I really would like to see this evidence. I really would like to see some sort of a court proceeding. I think that we do ourselves and journalism itself a disservice by reflexively defending a group, a person, and an organization that may well just be, you know, a higher profile version of Breitbart. And or not even that. I mean, you know, that you know, is just like, well, we need to find out. We need to find out. And, you know, strangely enough, I mean, Assange was charged in the UK with jumping bail. And the penalty, the maximum penalty for jumping bail is 5 years in jail, although typically people get a few months. If he had simply served that in the UK, he need not have stayed in the Ecuadorian embassy all this time. But, you know, they kicked him out this morning. The Brits arrested him, and they are in the process, it appears, of planning his extradition to the United States. So, you know, that's my take on Assange. I'm a big fan of journalism. I frankly, for a long time, was a big fan of WikiLeaks. Now that we see that, you know, Roger Stone has been going over and hanging out with Julian Assange, I'm having some second thoughts about what Julian Assange did to WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks may still be a great organization with great people working there and doing great work. But did Assange twist it or distort it or not? I mean, I think that we need to find out. And if they were engaged in journalism, then they need to be absolutely defended. And he, too, all the way to the wall.